welcome everybody to this session on how to build a highly profitable business off the back of your book. And I'm so very happy to be able to welcome Soochen Low to talk to us today. Soochen, thank you for your time. And of course, we've known each other for quite a long time. I met you about 3 weeks after starting my business. So we're going back several years now. And I remember reconnecting with you and I was, oh my God, look at all the great things you're doing. And you said to me, and look at all the great things you're doing. So we've both been on our journeys. But I welcome you and thank you for coming along. And just to kick off, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay, so hi Jay, and hi everybody from your community. I'm so pleased to be speaking with you now and sharing what I've been doing. And yeah, just to give you an idea of what I do, well, I'm a business joy coach. And I help six-figure business owners, they're passionate, creative business owners, to upscale their business, to get off that hamster wheel of when I don't work, nothing comes in, and actually able to structure a business that is profitable, making at least 10K months and upwards, but with them as a leader, strong at the helm, supported by a dream team, and heavy lifting systems and processes, I like to call it. Yes.
Thank you. And tell us about your journey. What have been the key turning points in your journey?
Yes, isn't it funny? Because, like you've kind of canvassed a little bit about our journeys, because back in the day when we first met, I think we were quite new in our journey. I didn't realize you were quite new. You came off quite the expert, very professional. Yeah, but I just enjoyed our chat about the hero's journey, which I think is a great, segue into your question about turning points in the journey, because I discovered that for all of us, well, most of us, I can't speak for all of us, that we are all on, a self-discovery about, who are we? What are we here to do? And I think the hero's journey is such a lovely, metaphor, that you've always come back to talk about, that canvasses authors, creative people, and anybody who's on that journey of trying to discover who they are. So in my, hero's journey, I was plodding along, going through life thinking that, this is life, this is good, and not realizing that I had certain, issues or blocks, as, coaches like to call them, come to the surface. And this happened when I was, I suppose, in my mid-30s, so I was already in a very successful family business with my sister, my mum and dad. And it wasn't until, things were flourishing that I realized that, that it was this kind of under this radar kind of feeling of jealousy towards my sister. And I was kind of thinking, that happens and, I'll just sweep it under the rug kind of thing. But that really was the turning point of how everything exploded in my life, because unfortunately, I was so jealous of my sister that it kind of disrupted into very destructive behaviors, where I sabotaged my sister in the business and sabotaged our family business to the point that she couldn't keep me anymore, because obviously I wasn't an asset anymore, that I was kind of asked to leave, and I had to leave my family and leave the business. And there I was, $200 left in my bank account, and obviously chaos everywhere, and very ashamed of who I was, to think I kind of thought I was all that, for all my earlier years. And then now I realized that, I'm not all that. And what am I going to do, with all this mess? I was disconnected from my family. I was alone. I had no form of income, because I've always in a family business most of my life, and in that family business, we were making mid to high six figures, approaching pretty much 7 figures. So, life was good. Mm-hmm. And then to fall from that point down to the point where you realize that you've done a lot of terrible things, and you only got $200 to your name, and now you've got to go get a job. It's a huge, awakening to kind of say, well, what have you been doing with your life, And so that really, caused me to come to the crossroads to say, what should I do? Should I just probably end my life at this point, because I was so ashamed and very, very devastated that I thought maybe life would be better, or well, everybody would be much better off without me. And maybe it would be much easier if I kind of left. But then, I went through the mechanics and the practicalities of making that happen. And I thought, well, if I didn't do this right, it's going to be much messier than where I'm at.
Well, I'm glad that's how that resolved itself. Wow.
Yeah. And so I kind of thought, all right, well, if I'm not going to end my life, that's not an option. In which case, what can I do? Which is, okay, well, let's clean up this mess. Let's actually do something about it, find out what happened, where all went wrong, and let's try to clean it up. And that was when I guess I, reverse engineered, okay, why did I end up with this destructive results I've got in my life today? And realized that it was all my mindset, as lots of coaches would like to call it, your thoughts, that drove a lot of beliefs I had about myself. So obviously I thought that I was less compared to my sister. She had lots of talents that I didn't have. And so that kind of started that process of now what we call the happy, positive, successful formula, which really dives into the emotions, the thoughts, emotions, actions, and results of any person's life. And from there, that really actually skyrocketed the career that I have, or the business that I have today. Because by being able to help myself and bring myself up back to ground zero in 1 year, I thought, okay, well, this is obviously working. Something's working. And then from there, I was a much better frequency to attract and receive opportunities in line with this, I guess, coaching element. And then I started building my business from there. So that would be the biggest turning point, I would say, in my journey, that then evolved into the trajectory of where I am at here today.
Yeah, great. And listen, what would you say were the key turning points in your business?
That's a good question. So key turning points in my business was, back in the day when I started this business from that formula, I was a joy expert or joy coach. And every time I told people what I did, they would be like so excited as to what that was. So the joy side was all linked to the self-confidence. And along the way, because then obviously I met my husband, and then we decided to work together. And I realized that, and then obviously working with a mentor from the US, I realized that she called it a unique sacred genius. It is like a thing, a creative genius that we all came or born with when we came to this life, or our experience here on earth. That I realized that, hang on, I actually am someone who loves to nerd out on structures.
Okay.
Yeah, right. It's something that I just do, that I didn't even realize it was a thing. You know what I mean? And because my trajectory led me to, I guess, find out that piece about the personal development, I was kind of immersed in that for a while. And it wasn't until then I worked with my husband, and then it led me to work with this mentor, that then I uncovered that, hang on, I have this thing where, like I said, I love to nerd out on systems and processes, the structures that actually support a creative business owner. Because my husband is actually a pastry chef. He's great at what he does, and he's a creative. And if I kind of go back to my life as to how I've helped people along the way, my mum was actually a creative business owner as well. So I realized that I have this niche or this expertise where creative business owners are great at what they do. They're so passionate about landing their visions and their dreams into a book, into a talk, into drawings, or cakes in my husband's instance. But they lack the knowledge, and I guess that, the knowledge and the expertise to build a structure, a business structure that allows their business to thrive. Because at the end of the day, what I've discovered is that creatives don't really like the business side of things. A few, maybe they love to dabble in Canva, for example, and create, marketing templates. But at the end of the day, they really want to be in their zone, just really creating and getting excited about the next big idea. And when you talk to them about business, well, how much money are you making? They get a little bit, I guess, sometimes demotivated. and a little bit like, oh, do I really have to worry about that stuff, the money stuff and the hiring people? But you and I both know that in this 3D reality, you do need the structures. And my expertise comes in, well, let's build the structures to support that creative genius so that you can thrive, you're making money, you can grow, and you're having lots of fun because you're not getting bogged down by no money, having to pay the bills because everything is working. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I mean, it's the boring, unsexy stuff that, you call it structures, processes, really move ahead without those at your peril.
Yeah.
And, this is where you step in. And I think people would be looking at you and then surprised that you're saying the words structures and processes. It's the bedrock, though, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is absolutely. And and I guess as a creative, this came back way in the day when I was actually a business lecturer for some designers, because many careers ago I was actually a fashion designer. So I am a creative. I've actually created my own books. I understand the creative process. But then there was that time when I realized, my mom was a business owner. And I thought to myself, no, I'm going to be different from my mom. I'm a creative. I don't do the business stuff. And it wasn't until I realized that, oh my God, it is a business, that really turned everything on its head for me. And I guess that was in the early days of finding my niche, that I had the ability to speak business to creatives in a way that they really understood and could relate with me, because obviously I've been there, I understand that process. Yeah.
I love it. And are most of your clients creative people? You called it a niche, or do you go, is it broader than that?
Well, when I say creative, I have authors, I have people who are healers. They're also coaches. So when I say creative, it's about people who have ideas and dreams and visions. They're very much tapped into that. They know how to do that. And in a way, they just do it intuitively, but they don't realize that you can actually tap into that creative genius and actually create a business. Because at the end of the day, a business is a creation. It is, as I said, often it's an expression, is an extension of who you are. Mm-hmm. We just choose to express ourselves differently. You might, Jane, you express yourself through your book. Somebody else expresses it through drawings. Somebody does it through music. It's just different forms of expression. And business happens to be an expression. It's just that for many creatives, because that's their thing, they didn't realize and they didn't really want to dabble into that. And so if they see that it's an expression, it's just an avenue, a channel. And obviously my expertise come into saying, well, look, if you can create a book or you've got these amazing ideas, you can create a business. It's just about knowing how, Sure. And and obviously because I understand creatives, I like to basically cut through all the noise out there and say, well, what is the shortest, quickest, easiest, most fun path? Because at the end of the day, creating is fun, right? And a lot of people kind of go, oh, when it comes to the business, that's not fun. And my expertise is bringing that fun. And that's why, my year-long programs with my business owners it's called Play to Scale, because, people kind of feel like our business is such a hard slog. But my approach is that it needs to be fun. I mean, there's no point doing it otherwise if it's going to be painful and miserable. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, great. And you're launching something really exciting. Yes. And it's actually, in a way, sort of brought your story with your sister full circle as well. So can you tell us about that?
Okay, wonderful. So what's happened is, as I said, I found that formula through, bumping around on my own, trying to figure out, what went wrong, and then brought my life back to ground zero. And obviously then from there, thrive from ground zero, helping other people, building businesses and all of that, and managed to reconcile with my family, reconcile with my sister, so obviously our relationship is based on new understandings and more mature understandings of where we're both at. And she's been, obviously, we've been talking, she's been supporting my businesses, and I've been doing that with hers. And so she runs a very successful social media company with her husband in Australia. And obviously she's heard of all the great work I've been doing. And she said, you know what, we would love to sponsor you, or, support you by helping you to get your work out there and help even more people, especially in light of what's COVID has done to many people. And right now we're in the middle of a lockdown. So it's like, well, lots of people probably appreciate you being able to help them with what you're doing. So they've sponsored me this introductory piece to my 5-step formula, which what happens is everybody gets what I call the Rockstar Business Clarity assignment. And this is an assignment that allows you to assess where you at in your business. And, a lot of people, they would go, well, where do I start? And obviously there is the business structure format of, what's your profit? What's your revenue? What's your systems and process, your team, your costs, all of that thing. But what I've done is I've linked it to, I guess, the self-development side of things, which is, well, how are you feeling about it? What are your thinking patterns around that? Your thoughts, your emotions, and your results. So it's like the emotional side, or the leadership, I call it the self-leadership side, comes hand in hand with the business structures. And many of my clients who do this have found it to be a wonderful experience, rather than, oh my God, here's another awful, dry business diagnostic. It's more about putting it in context for them, to say that how they're feeling, what they're thinking about their business actually translates into the business terms or business structures that we talk about, so that they feel that there is an energy connected to their results. And again, as creatives, because they're very in touch with their emotions, they're very much intuitive people, it has to feel right for them. And a lot of the clients who do this first step keep saying to me, oh, this feels so right. Because, they've worked with coaches before who get a little bit turned off by business coaches who just do the usual, very dry marketing, nuts and bolts stuff, and feel that they're not understood. But this first piece, which my sister's company was able to sponsor, so this tool alone is $1,000 tool, but they were able to sponsor that. And obviously I was inspired by my sister's generosity and thinking, well, let's add on top of that. So I've added a 2-hour VIP immersion on top of that, where we're going to basically go into a deep dive about all the answers that they've provided in this assignment, and then really unblock some of the key things that's in their way. So that's that's what's on the table. And I guess in a way it's offering it for a scholarship enrollment fee. So you're really looking at about a $2,000 value kind of step in to have a taste of what I'm doing, but for an enrollment fee of $99. That's $90 plus GST. So that's really what's happening now. It's very exciting because it allows me, and because they're an Australian company, they're saying we only want to help Aussies at this stage, which is nice because, close to home. And along my journey, I've had so many Australian connections like you, Jane, that I kind of felt, wow, this is the perfect time to circle back and reconnect and talk about what can we do to help each other. And hence, this is the vehicle.
And very generous of your sister to be, essentially supporting any of the people who opt in.
Yes.
Who they've never met and never will meet.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I was so inspired and I was so excited when she said that. I'm like, are you sure this is what you want to do? It sounds like I'm getting the better end of the deal, because all they want is just mentions, obviously a shout out to them from my social pages. But I guess my sister's company, has come to the point where we want to help more people. And we know that as obviously when we are in service to others, the universe naturally, gives back to you. So, when you're of that level, 6-7 figure level, it's no longer about, well, how much money am I making for myself? It's more about, well, what can I do now that I'm off that level? How much of an impact can I make on the world? you know, maybe share my legacy. So yeah, it's very exciting to be able to be part of this little initiative. And then so exciting that because they brought us full circle to you to
Yes.
chat back with you. So
Yes.
I mean, it's in its early stages right now, but already I'm just so excited about all the connections, you know, all the
And there's
that's
a positive vibe around this, isn't there? Well,
yes,
that's my sense of it anyway.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, listen, do you think we open up for questions? Was there anything
Absolutely.
you wanted to say? Let's anybody got any questions for either Soochen or myself? You know, we're just open the dialogue here about, you know, how do you make money off your book by not totally trying to rely on book sales, because that's possibly the hardest route to go down.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess with your authors, the book is obviously one avenue, as I was saying. You know, it's one avenue to channel those book sales through. But you'll find that, you know, in my trajectory, I started with 3 little books. And then it developed into programs, which the programs are, I guess, the knowledge that is the foundation of your books. And then that developed into, back in the day, sponsorship opportunities, and then speaking opportunities, which then, you know, came in tens and thousands of dollars. So I think if I can kind of give advice to your community, it's that the book may be a starting point or an add-on, you know, an add-on to what they're already doing. You know, maybe some of your authors, from what I understand, are already running businesses, and the book is another marketing channel. But at the end of the day, how the book sales come in, or is it through speaking? Is it through programs? Is it through selling stuff? At the end of the day, I guess it's very important, and this is what I speak about in my programs, that every business leader or every business owner needs to understand that the energetics or the frequency or the leadership of you as a business owner is pretty much 90% of the whole equation. And that could be happy news for a lot of creative business owners, because they're thinking, oh, it's not 90% business, because from what I understand from my business mentor, it's that it's actually 90% frequency, or what we call vibration, and 10% business structures. So that could be welcome news to creative business owners in particular, to say, oh, thank God. But then it's also to say, okay, well, then what is this 90% frequency we're talking about? And this is what I called joy leadership, right? Being in your starring in your business, because I find through talking with lots of business owners is at the end of the day, they come to me and they say, oh, why is it not selling? Why is it not making money? I need to quickly get onto social media and do this and this because it's not making money. So they're very much focused on the business structure, thinking that that will make money. And absolutely, it needs to be there. That mechanism or the container needs to be there. But if you as the leader, because the business is an expression of you, if you as a leader are actually a little bit afraid of putting yourself out there and saying, hey, this is me, I'm ready to make money through my book or whatever, the money in a way will not come. No matter how many social media accounts you have and how busy you are doing sales and all of that, a lot of business owners just don't understand why is not the money coming in. And the big piece is where we all start from is, well, what's going on? What's actually blocking you from receiving money? And when I work with these business owners to clear those obstacles or those blocks that are in the way, it's almost as if they don't have to do anything else. Just that energy alone allows someone to call them out of the blue and say, reconnect, and give them almost money just like that. You know what I mean? Obviously, when I say just like that, they obviously had some sort of a website in place that somebody could call them. They had a social media account, but it's actually the heavy lifting is not in the structure, so to speak. It's actually first piece is in their leadership, in how they're feeling as a as a business owner.
So how are
So
you turning up, essentially, isn't it? It's a
yeah,
reflection of all those things, confidence and clarity and, you know, what you're calling frequency. I suppose I'm pulling it into a different language that is kind of the same thing, a little bit different, but that's how do you turn up? You know, how much do you believe in yourself? Trying to sell, you know, services to somebody else really has to come down to a place of absolute clarity and, you know, self-belief, belief in your ability to help that person to do what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And yeah, that self-belief, that confidence, just to kind of add on to that, a lot of business owners, because they are putting themselves out there, and they will fall into that comparison, because they will go, who am I compared to XYZ on social media? They're younger than me, or they've got so many notches to their belt. You know, that already would then make them shrink back and not show up on social media, even if they had many followers. You know, I have many business owners who actually come to me and they have 1,000, 2,000 followers. But the problem is that they don't even like to engage with their followers. Does that make sense? So
Yes, yes.
that action alone, I mean, if you engage, that would probably help you to receive the money. But because they're thinking, well, who am I to even engage with my followers? That just blocks the revenue, right? So yeah, exactly, that's self-belief. And you know, I say to my students all the time that the best you is in you all along. Yeah, because
Nice.
a lot of us kind of keep feeling, I've got to be more, I've got to do this, do that, and almost feel like this never-ending chase of more qualifications, more things to do. Whereas when I work with my business owners, is to say, no, 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 all of you, everything that you need to succeed is all in you already. What we're trying to do is to uncover what is that. And anything that might be blocking you from thinking that I'm worthless and I've got nothing good to show for it, we've got to take that away. We've got to take those blocks away from you so that you can allow to start in your business. And at the end of the day, for you to receive those dollars, you really need to be turning up as a star to say, this is me. I'm very happy about who I am. I know I can help you. Come on in. Let's do business, so to speak. You know what I mean? But to be able to say those very seemingly simple words, I suppose, there's a lot of kind of work to kind of evolve to be able to say that. Yeah.
And I guess it's about being able to say it in your own words. What's more, you know, I find clients who, and you use the word comparing earlier, people comparing themselves to the rah-rah equivalent of themselves. And I did that myself in the beginning. My biggest, in inverted commas, competitor, although we don't actually have competitors, that's just not reality, but in terms of who I thought was my competitor, a totally rah-rah kind of person on social media. It appeared every minute of every day. And I was never going to be that person. I am not that person. I could have invested a whole, and I did invest a whole lot of energy of trying to turn up. Hey, here I am. That's not me. It will never ring true. And I think that's in a sense what I'm getting from you also, is that the session with you would give people a clear ability to give themselves permission to turn up as who they really are.
Absolutely. I had one lady where I had a discovery session with them, and she was saying, and you know, a strategy session is just a complimentary session that people come on and they discover whether it's a good fit or not. And she was able to take takeaways to say that, you know, that piece about what you said, that the business is an expression of you and an extension of you, allows me to feel that I can stop comparing, because it gave her permission to go, well, if it's an expression of me, well, I can do that. You know, I don't have to be whoever over in the States and do whatever I think they need to do, you know. And this is very important. That's why we come back to the turning up, or in my language, I guess, frequency or leadership. It's like, it's got to be you. At the end of the day, there was only one version of ourselves. For example, there's no other Jane in this earth like you, exactly the way you are. There's just not. Like, you are a unique event, and so is every single one of your authors in your community. So we need to discover, well, who are you in the sense of how would you like to do things, what makes you tick, and all of that. And then we allow the business to be an expression of who that is. Because if you try to copy someone else, then it's not going to work, because first of all, you wouldn't know how to be somebody else, because only they know how to do it. So if you're then tuning into who I am, then the business is going to generate revenue exclusively for you. Does that make sense? And well, the sky's the limit when you are there, you know, when you're in that element going, oh my God, this is who I am. This is what makes me tick. This is my quirks, you know, my quirks and what makes me a little bit nerdy, whatever it is, we own all of that. And then we go, okay, well, let's put that out there. Let's create positive results using obviously your mindset, and how you show up, what actions you take from that place, not copying other people, from that place. And the results are amazing, because, you know, a lot of people, and again, another lady who went through this scholarship experience with me in the first hour had a breakthrough, because she actually has a successful business. She just didn't see it like that, because she had, you know, obviously an idea or block or an illusion of herself. And after that 1 hour session, she realized that, oh my God, I am successful. That revelation, when you know that you are more than enough, I think that in itself, that frequency or that vibration, you immediately give off this energy that people even want to come to talk to you just on that alone. You know, and that alone, obviously, we know that when people talk to you or you talk to people, it's the beginning of business conversations, deals being made. Because at the end of the day, we do business with people we like. And it's really more about a connection at the end of the day. Like when I'm working with my husband in the hospitality industry, and his vehicle is selling cakes, and I'm training the salespeople, because obviously this is one of the structures that we build when I work with business owners. When I'm training the salespeople on how to sell the cake, they obviously come to me with ideas of, oh, you got to be pushy, you got to try and tell them what's the bargain and blah, 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 all of that. And I said, no, you just need to come across that you're a friendly, approachable person, because that vibe is enough for someone to come to you and start talking to you. And when they start talking to you, well, that's when, I mean, selling becomes very simple, because it's like you've got that connection. You know, it's just like me chatting with you, Jane, that, you know, oh, have you seen the latest whatever? And because we have this feeling, this vibe of connection, you don't feel that I'm pushing anything on you. You just feel that as a friend or as a connection, that you really want to just share something good or exciting. So that vibe, or that how you turn up, is so important. And a lot of people maybe don't realize the significance of that. And that for me is one of the key pillars. I talk about the 3 pillars of building this successful business. That is really one of the strongest pillars, this joy leadership, how you show up, because then it allows your systems and processes and hiring team so much easier, because it's just how you show up in everything. Because when you show up as who you as a leader, then when you want to hire people to help you out, you just hire people that you love to work with. You know, you don't have to go through tons of resumes, checking boxes and all of that. Naturally, people will rock up. When I was working with my clients on how to attract team for them, you know, we just had to realign their energetics or their frequency of who they want, who they are, and who they want to work with them. And they literally have people just show up on their doorstep saying, oh, I'm looking for a job. And the moment that they met them, they're like, oh my God, this is the person. You know, and so that's what I'm saying. The business side becomes easy when you get this first piece right.
Okay, do you want to list out the 3 pillars, just so everyone's clear?
Sure. So the first pillar is what I call joy leadership, which is about how to show up. what you're thinking, how you're feeling, the vibration or the energy you're giving off. And the second pillar is the dream team. So how do you actually hire people? You know, the dream team, these are people who actually support your vision. They actually would look at, they care about your business even more than you do. It's like they treat your business like it's their baby. You know, a lot of business owners, when we create our businesses, we feel like it's our own baby. And when we want to hand it over to others, we kind of go, well, they won't get that. And they don't even know how to say that to their team. But when you know how you need to be in your leadership and how you need to show up, and obviously this is what I teach and how I show my business owners to do it, is then you automatically, it just naturally translates to people that come to you. And then when you come to training them, you only need like a few little tweaks and a few instructions, and they're off and running because they understand, they resonate with who you are as a leader. Like they go, okay, I understand that Jane is somebody who's really passionate and in full integrity about what she does. And she's somebody who doesn't like all that rah-rah stuff and, you know, very much direct, no bullshizzle and all that kind of stuff. You know, that's Jane. So when you're that and you always show up as that, then people, whoever comes to join you would know that instinctively. And then when they go off track, so to speak, because they obviously maybe still new working with you, you only need like a few little gentle reminders and they're back on track, and you never have to babysit your team because it's like they're another version of you.
Mm-hmm. So are these VAs generally that you're talking about, people who can come in and maybe look after your social media or, you know, various aspects of the work like that?
Yeah, so I guess on our online world, it has ventured out to VAs. You know, when before the online world, we have our executive assistants, our personal assistants. But on the online world, yeah, we have the luxury now of having very, very efficient virtual assistants, you know, people who are great resources from the Philippines, for example, and very, very skilled, you know, and obviously have very affordable prices. So yeah, they can add to your team. But what I talk about in my programs, and many people don't realize, and it's a real eye-opener, is that your suppliers, your networks, they are your team as well.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah, because you know, again, when we talk about you as a leadership, we don't just cut off customers or whatever. It's like everybody who is in your field. So it would be your old contacts, it would be who, maybe if you're a publisher or your book writer, well, who's your illustrator and who is your marketing person. They are actually people, they may not be in direct, you don't pay their salary, but they are in a contractor or in a business relationship with you. And when you show up as a leader again differently, you'll find that their service to you becomes different because they're like, oh, I know what Jane loves and I know what she doesn't, you know, tolerate. And they will, in a way, gravitate and resonate and shift the way that they're being to fit with you. So a lot of business owners think that, oh, team means I've got to have 10 employees. You could if you're of that scale, but you don't have to. You know, you don't need to, because your suppliers, your networks, your business relationships, your contacts, they are your team because they're people here to help you. And then, you know, for creatives who maybe have certain other skills where they're able to be, they're very spiritual and they have, I guess, additional help like spiritual guidance and all of that. That's your team as well. You know, your kind of divine counsel, that is your team. So it's so important that if you see yourself as that key pillar and all these people are in a way waiting on your command, so to speak, you need to, I guess, instead of trying to write out memos to everybody, it's like, you know, 10,000 memos. It's like, well, how are you showing up? And that showing up, that message is just more powerful than any memo because you're walking your talk, you're sending that energy out, and people, you know, we feel it. When you come in contact with someone, you feel it when something's a bit off and you walk off, right? We feel it, yeah. And when something is right, you just go, oh, there's something about this person, I want to stay around. So that extends to your inner circle, outer circle, your contacts, your family, everybody. And obviously earth and the whole community at large, your followers, all of them. So when we work on this one piece, which is one as opposed to 10,000 things you need to do as a business owner, you find that everything else just gets looked after. And, looking after one thing is much easier than 10,000 things, obviously.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And and we all know that it's hard to control other people. Well, it's almost impossible to control other people. And the only thing you can control is yourself. But when we say yourself, well, what is that? That's when we drill down to, well, what are you thinking? How are you feeling? What's the actions you're taking? And, when we drill down to that, you only need a few key moves and everything in your life just shifts and changes. Yeah. So that would be the dream team, the second pillar.
Second pillar,
and
thank you. Yeah.
And the third pillar is systems and processes.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people, when they think about systems and processes, they think that, oh, I've got to install the latest programs and I've got to have a massive hard drive and a huge data center like Google has and all of that. No, I mean, eventually, as you scale up your business, you could be the next Google or whatever. There's, the sky's the limit for that. But when you start off, a mini version of that is just to even say, well, what is something that I keep doing in my business, for example? Maybe it's writing an email, or is it scheduling appointments? So understanding what is it that you do in your business, and even starting off to say, well, how many steps do I actually do to get that email out? Do I first have to have a draft, and then I let the draft sit for 2 days before I send it out? Like, you as a business owner needs to be very clear about what is it that you do. And then once you are clear about those systems, and let's say your VA fell sick and couldn't do it for you, you could easily just pass those 5 steps on to the next VA, for instance, or you could do it yourself just for that day because you're clear to say, well, there's only 5 steps. Obviously, when I work with my business owners and you're trying to scale up, we want to kind of take those things off you where you no longer need to work hand to mouth and everything is manual. But the first step to even understanding, well, what am I doing day to day, and breaking it down to a step, that's a system. That's a process, you know what I mean? So that if, let's say the worst case scenario, you have no employees, you can fall back on yourself. But it's not like, oh my God, now I've got to work out what I did 3 weeks ago and I got to start all over again. You've already got it. So if you yourself can fall back on that, well, that system is easily passed off to somebody else. And you never ever have to worry, what if my VA leaves, or what if this person leaves? Because it's a blueprint. It's a blueprint that is there, that is repeatable. And that's why I've said that even a teenager could do it consistently and easily, because it's just a few key steps. So that's an important thing. So a lot of people think, oh, maybe I've got to run around and start, installing programs and stuff. No, it can be as simple as that, because a lot of owners say to me that when they try to hand it off to someone, they don't even know where to start. And the reason is because they themselves haven't kind of worked out a system for themselves. Because each time they do something, maybe they have like 20 things on their list and they're jumping from thing to thing, item to item. It's almost like they have to restart all over again when they have to do one thing. You know what I mean? So if they themselves are familiar with that system, when they hand it off, that system becomes almost close to foolproof, because actually you yourself have been through and nutted out the little tweaks and things, and you've nutted out how you like it to be done, so that when you hand it off to someone after a few little runs of it, they're good to go. A lot of business owners, I guess, when they try to hand it off, because they say, oh, it's too much, you just do it. And then they realize when they get the results, it's all chaos, and they blame the poor VA or they blame the employee. It's because you as the business owner wasn't very clear about what it's all about, because you haven't been through to do it. Obviously, there's only so many things. You've got so much to do in your day as a business owner. That's why when I work with you, because I've been there, built the systems from the ground up for so many different industries, in education, hospitality, consulting, all of that. Pretty much I know what the basic structures are, that you can go off and running and you can just build it up. And then with the leadership piece, because you're getting revenue coming in, then you don't have to worry about paying your bills because money's coming in. Then you just need to build a few little structures to support that, so that then you can continue nerding out on the next draft of your book, or creating the next new recipe.
Yep. Great. Well, listen, I think let's open up to the audience now to ask any questions that they might have. Thank you. That was wonderful. James, great. You've got
James has a question.
Sorry,
hello, James.
I didn't realise I'd muted. So the question about your systems and processes, and
yes,
how do you actually design them so that they're all consistent and integrated? And so I'd be starting off as a single operator,
yes,
and building my business based on my research and writing.
Yes.
So what's your approach to then designing integrated systems and processes?
Okay, good question, James.
And when you're talking about a business structure, what are you saying there?
Okay, all right. So I guess systems and processes is almost like a drill down, getting really into the nuts and bolts of the structure. So when I talked about the structure, I meant the 3 pillars. So structure meaning in your business, you must make sure that you have this leadership pillar. Like, what are you doing as a leader? What are you showing up as? What are you doing in terms of what you're saying? How are you projecting yourself? What beliefs have you got as a leader? That's one pillar. So that's a part of the structure. So if it holds up your business as a building, we've got that one pillar, which is the leadership. We've got the second pillar, which is the dream team. So somebody to help you out to build and scale your business. And the third pillar, which is systems and processes. So systems and processes is now we're getting into the nitty gritty of what's going on in your entire business loop, so to speak. So how are you generating revenue? Like, are you getting revenue through book sales, or are you getting it through speaking opportunities? Then we want to make sure that the revenue that comes in from there, then is there an opportunity for people to, I guess, enroll further with you after you've done a speaking opportunity? And then we will work out to say, well, do we just need a simple email or simple PDF for them to enroll further with you? Or are you going to do another webinar? Or are you going to do a talk? So all these, I guess, in between little links that links the whole business loop is what we call as systems and processes. Right. So coming back to how do you design it, it would really be about me understanding from A to Z, how do you receive money? How do you serve your clients? What is it that you want to get out of at the end of the loop for them to go to the next level, perhaps working with you? Once we get a sense of that loop, then we go, well, what are the little linking pieces that makes the person go from A to B and so forth to Z? And then when we do that, we get those pieces in place, then we talk about, well, are there any bottlenecks? Is there anything that actually stops someone from B to C, for example? We try to refine them, fine tune those little linking pieces, and we keep running them. At the end of the day, systems and processes is like a testing and experimentation run. We keep running it until it's fully full of flow. And it's an ongoing process with the systems and processes. But for me to help you to design that would be very unique to each business owner, because each business owner likes to do business in a different way. For some of them, they say, oh, can you please not do webinars? I hate those kind of stuff. I just like to get on the phone and talk to somebody, for instance. So we'll design the system in a way, as what I've spoken with Jane, that is unique to you. That if you don't feel like you want to do webinars, we don't have to go down that path. Because a lot of business owners maybe think that I must have a webinar to succeed. Not necessarily, because if you don't like talking and you get petrified every time you do it, that's not going to be the pathway for you. Yeah. Does that answer your question, James?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, Soochen, what are the next steps if somebody wants to investigate further about the scholarship or about anything else that you've talked about today? What would you like them to do?
Yes. So what I would like is, I think the best way is for them to send me an email.
Mhm.
I think in your follow-up emails to your community, you probably, send that to them.
Do you
And
want to say it anyway, though? Because once this goes onto my channel, people, who I
yeah,
may not have thought to send it to. So just say it just for the record. So we've
sure.
got it on the recording.
Yeah. So the email address is Soochen, and it's spelled SOOCHEN at happypositivesuccessful.com. So successful has 2 C's and 2 S's, because I know that's a bit hard of a spelling. So yeah, Soochen at happypositivesuccessful.com. So send me an email, say you would like a discovery call, that you came from Jane's community. I met you on Jane, or I heard you from Jane. And then we just go from there, because I know that you've came off from this talk. Then I'll send you more information. And it's really an opportunity for a complimentary discovery call with me, where I actually work out where you're at, where you want to go, and what's the roadmap to get there. And a lot of the scholarship students who are coming through, they already, from that conversation, already have tips that they can feel already much better about themselves. And one of the things that people feel, that they've always keep telling me, is that I have this ability to just draw out information from them. And I think it's that feeling of trust, that I'm not going to judge you for what you're going to say. And that's such an important piece, because for any transformation or healing or change to be made, we each need to feel like we can lay everything out on the table. Because when you lay everything out on the table, we actually get a clear picture, as you say, the clarity of what's really going on. Where do we want to go? Where are we at right now? What's stopping us? How do we take those out of the way? So that when I give you a roadmap, that roadmap is going to work for you. So that piece of being able to offload, and people trust me enough to share that information, I think is a big piece, because then we have so much to work with. And then I will be able to dig deep for people. And a lot of people also do say that a lot of coaches deal only with the symptoms, like the surface stuff. Mm-hmm. Whereas I have this ability, and again, people tell me that, I have this ability to pick up the core of everything, because as business owners, we don't have time to fluff around and, do months and months of work. We want to get to the answer quickly. So I have the ability to basically, when I hear something, what people say, go right to the core of it and heal or remove that block from the core. And once that core is, I guess, transformed, the path is kind of smooth sailing, moving forward, easier and in more flow. So so that would be the best way for people to kind of get in contact with me, to be able to have that discovery call, to find out if it's a good fit. But at the end of the day, it's just even that conversation to get everything that's off in your mind, off on the table, to talk about it. And then when you talk about it, you yourself have a better sense of, wow, this is exactly where I'm at, and this is what I want to do. A lot of times we have so many things running around our head that we don't realize it until we verbalize exactly what's been stopping us. And a lot of business owners, by, I guess, having that conversation with me, even have little ahas on their own. They start to go, oh, hang on, is that what I really think? So that process, that discovery process, I think is very, very helpful. Whether they decide it's a good fit for the scholarship is obviously a secondary matter. My focus is really about having conversations with people to even help them have some form of clarity that, yes, there is a roadmap for me. Whatever I'm suffering, whatever I'm struggling with, there is a process to get there. And then when someone is informed and they're clear on where they're at, where they want to go in the roadmap, they themselves will know whether they want to do the next thing or not, but at least they're informed. And I think that's an important process.
Yeah, there's nothing quite so powerful as a well-asked question in this space, space of helping people to really just get down to the bedrock of what they're all about and what they can offer to their potential clients. And that's very generous of you to offer that. And I must admit, I do the same thing. I want to have always a really good conversation with my potential clients to see if we're a fit. And I've had people leave and 6 months later send me a copy of their book. And nothing makes me happier. If I can help somebody to get over any barriers they're having to getting their books written, then job done. And
Exactly.
I know that this is where you're coming from as well. So really, guys, if you feel like you want to have a conversation with Soochen, it's Soochen@happypositivesuccessful.com. Best email address ever, if you ask me. And just see where it goes, because there's a lot to be gained by just downloading everything you got on your head, on your mind at the moment. Just get it down on the table, and we'll shuffle it around a little bit and see where it all lands.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I hope that, through our conversations with Jane in this conversation, this is pretty much the vibe that people will get with me when they talk to me. A lot of people say that I'm very down to earth, very kind of direct, straightforward. There's no kind of rah-rah and extra fuss, because, it is what it is. I've been around and worked with so many coaches that I know what people like and don't like. At the end of the day, I don't like it when somebody tries to, I guess, make more of what it really needs to be, and so if it is just XYZ, I'll tell you XYZ, and that's what we really need in this day and age, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Time is money, and time is precious. So yeah,
absolutely.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Look, this brings us really to the end of the session. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time and with the information that you're sharing. And, I love to see what will come out of this in terms of the help that you're able to give people in the scholarship situations, so that, you don't need to invest a lot of money to get an awful lot of value back. So that's wonderful. Thank you all so, so much.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Over and out for now.